Flosstube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah here at Every Little X Stitch. Today is February 14, Thursday. Just trying to get a video in for you guys real quick before the craziness of the day starts. Kids obviously have Valentine parties later. Just did this video a second ago, and then I thought I was pausing it, but I stopped it because my parrot flew off of her cage, and we have cats, so had to go rescue her from any mishaps that might happen. Speaking of, if you guys hear any beeping and random weird talking, it's my parrot. It's not some weirdo in the house. She's an African gray, so she talks and she makes exceptional electronic noises of any sort. She can do it. So anyway, getting into the video itself. So when I talked to you guys last, I was working on trying to finish up, I'll put it over here now, February from the Cricut collection, which is this one. Sorry about the glare. This lighting it's actually really bright today in Michigan, but I had to close a couple curtains because it was like too bright, which never happens here. But anyway, so I was trying to work on that and get that done. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll have already seen this, but I have a finish. So here is February in all its glory. Here's the whole thing. And just kind of a close-up of it. Here it is. And I will go over this in a little bit better detail so that you guys can see. I did make some changes to it myself. I did sub in some different things that are not called for. So first thing, I guess we'll go in order of the letters themselves. So the crown, okay, so if you guys can see the crown here, hopefully that picks up pretty well. There is my crown, and I did mine in Petite Treasure braid for the gold part. The bottom part, I started to do beads, to have like a row of purple beads there, but I took them out because I did not like it. It was just too much, so I have 3 Mill Hill beads there, and then the other is the way that it should be. So what I used there was PB03, and the Mill Hill beads that I used were 02085. These guys, probably can't see that. They're very like a royal purple, like a crown would be. A velvety, you know, queens and kings type of stuff. Okay, then next I have, I don't know if this will pick it up very well, but here, oh, it does a little bit there. You can see it. So my masquerade mask is a bit sparkly, and then also this heart and this heart. So where I had color 309, I believe it was, I subbed in, or not subbed in, but I added 1 strand of the blending filament in 031. I added that one to mine, just because I wanted to. That's why, just because. What else? Did I do anything different? I think that's it. I think that's it for this one. But I'm very, very, very excited that this is done. This was a 2-year project in the making. Well, I don't know. I started this project last year, but I only worked on it in February, and then I picked it back up on February 1st, got the first 2 letters done in about a week, and then the last one I was just like powering through it to get it done because I was not going to have this sitting here again next year. So that's done. Finished. Finito. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to try to go out and try to find a frame that'll work with all of them. But I kind of feel like I need to get September finished first because that's the longest month. And that one is I think, doable this year to finish. I just have to stick with it and not get distracted by other lovely stitchy things. So that's that. I have a finish. Next, so I worked on, let's see, on the 10th, I picked up my elephant bead embroidery, which, if you guys are not familiar with these, this is what it is. They are kits that you get, it doesn't have there. This is from the Ukraine, and this has 8,248 beads in it. The entire thing is done in beads. The canvas itself is printed, and then you add, oh, I'll have my husband add a picture in here, and then this is where I am now. So you add in beads where every single little dot is. So this is what I did this week. I see where I am on this side. So I added a little bit of the color down this strand here, and then I added all this right here, the white with the purple, and then this entire thing where it's like red and orange and ivory. So that's where I am this week. And this thing, for just that, it doesn't seem like that's a lot of progress. I mean, it does and it doesn't, because considering the time that I know that it takes, that's a lot of progress. But at the same time, in the grand scheme of the entire piece, it's not. So these are very time-consuming pieces, but they're very fun and they're very worth it, in my opinion. I really like it. I like mixing things up. I don't like doing just one thing constantly. I like to do different things. So this piece unravels to about here, I want to say, when it's fully open. But I really like this piece. I feel like I want to keep concentrating on the really heavily congested areas, because once I get out here, it's a lot less, you know, like it'll just go a lot faster, I feel like. So I want to concentrate on the main center area, obviously, because that's where you're going to really see it come to life anyhow. But I'm really loving this piece. So if you guys are interested in these, I got mine from Etsy. Just type in bead embroidery and it'll pull up, or bead embroidery kits, and it'll pull up tons and tons and tons of things. So you can have fun with that if that's something that you guys are interested in. And this is what the beads, you don't get a box like this, but you get a bunch of beads and then you have fun with that. And I told you guys last time I had a needle really bent. I have another bent needle. You're not going to be able to see that, but I have another bent needle. I completely snapped a needle in half when I was working on this last week. So the canvas is pretty tough. And what I actually do, shoot, I didn't grab them, but I have these little grippy, like rubbery finger, like just a finger, I don't know, I want to say a glove, but it's actually for quilting. They're called, I don't know, quilting fingers or quilting something rather. Anyway, it's just a grippy thing that you wear on your fingers, kind of like those little finger condoms if you get like a cut and you're working like in the medical field, that kind of thing. Similar, but not exactly. Anyhow, I wear those to help with pulling the needle through, in and out, because it's so much easier. And I actually did, when I was working on it this past week, I found a new kind of method that goes twice as fast. I don't know why I didn't do it before, but it's easier to go with the beads. You go in on the far side and come in on the closer side. And I know that probably won't make sense unless you do this yourself, but it made it go a lot faster for me. I did use a lot more not floss, but the beading, oh gosh, what's it called? Nymo thread. I use a lot more Nymo thread, but that's okay because those come on a huge spool anyway, and I will probably not even get through an entire spool for this project. Maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, I use the little finger grippies because it just helps a lot, and I also use those. I had those before because I use them for English paper piecing. when you have the pieces together and you have like glue in them, or you have a cardboard where you have to kind of get right underneath where all that stuff is, the fabric can be kind of stiff. So I use them for that. So they come in handy. So if you guys work on any of these, grab a pack of those, and I guarantee you it'll make it go a lot easier for you. Your finger will get like calluses from working on this otherwise, I guarantee it, because it's very tough. Anyway, sorry, went on a little random thing there. So next thing I have to show you guys is my Jim Shore 12 Days of Christmas. I've been working on the Partridge in a Pear Tree over here, and I didn't do a lot on this whatsoever, but I did do a little bit more. And my husband inserted a picture here of where I was last week, and then this week here is where I am. The only thing I added to this piece was this dark brown color in the wing. I worked on this a little bit, and then I want to say Aurora woke up at night and I had to go up there, and I just fell asleep because I was really, really tired, or I went to bed early. I was falling asleep in my chair, one of the two. So didn't get a lot done in this. Want to pick this one up again soon-ish because it is really pretty. Focus that for you guys. But yeah, I didn't do a lot in that one, but that's okay. You know, can't do a ton in everything, right? Okay, then the next thing I have to show you guys is from, again, the Cricut collection. This piece is called Winter. I took it out of the packaging this time, so we shouldn't have a glare other than from the light. There it goes. So I'm doing, whoops, sorry. Focus, there we go. So I'm starting on the W, and I did not get far in this even remotely, but that's okay. I just started it was all. And here's my start. My ridiculous, not even probably worth mentioning start. 5 stitches. 5 whole stitches. But I'm doing this on 28 count fabric that I hand dyed myself using Rit dye. There's the back. Well, not the back, but that's the other side of it there. I wanted it on a very wintry looking piece, and I don't personally like buying fabric for everything that I do. I do like to dye my own because it's a lot more cost effective, and then I kind of get the look that I really am wanting for the most part, unless I completely batch it. It comes out pretty well usually. And sorry, I always forget to mention, this piece is done on 28 count coffee tea dyed. I did it myself. And then the February piece is done on 28 count even weave. I get those huge pieces from Hobby Lobby. I did have some questions on this and the dyeing too, on what I used to dye it with. So I go to Hobby Lobby and I get I believe the measurements are 30 by 36 pieces of even weave. And the reason I get that one in particular is purely because of the size. It's the biggest size that I can get. So I get that one, and then I hand dye them myself. So I don't remember the colors I used on this one because it was a while ago that I dyed them. And I dyed that one, and I dyed January at the same time. And then my February piece, which you guys can get a better idea of the color. This is the back side. Folded up, looks like that. And this is showing really true to color in the picture, or in the camera. And this is done, what I do is I go on the website and I download the Rit color guide, I think it's called, and it'll give you like hundreds of color combinations. When I first started dyeing, I didn't even realize that that thing existed. And I would like take the dye home. I'm like, why isn't it the color on the box or on the bottle? That's why. Because you have to mix everything up, but I didn't know that at the time. found out later, I have this massively huge box of bottles of dye, which I'm gonna have to get another box for because it's full now. But it's so cheap, you guys, to do fabric this way. If you want, it's not really that big of a hassle to do. I do mine in Tupperware, so I'm not ruining anything. It doesn't ruin anything anyway, but I'll use a white paper plate and put the color on it to see what the color actually is, because it's deceiving when it's in a big, you know, I just use my Pyrex measuring cup, but it's deceiving in there, so I put it in the white paper, on the white paper plate, and I go from there. Anyway, that was a whole lot of whatever rambling, but I don't remember what the color was that I used. But the point of bringing up the color guide is that if you go on there, you will be able to kind of look at it and gauge what color in particular you want to do. So what I do is if I want something totally different, I just go based off of what I want, and I take into consideration the fact of what colors I have for floss. So I don't want to obviously use an exact floss, and I've had to here and there to change a couple colors that are called for, but that's okay. You know, you don't have to use exactly what's called for. It's not like it's the law. There's no cross-stitch police. But I just try to make sure I don't have to change too much that it doesn't change the pattern completely. But so I don't remember what colors I used. And then for something like this, what I do is I will literally, I did it for both. So let me just kind of show you these two compared to each other. So here's January from the Cricut collection. That wants to focus there. And whoops, sorry, I gotta take this out of the package again. And here's winter. So if you look at these two together, obviously they're completely different tones of color, right? So obviously one's very green looking and one's very blue. Now when I originally looked at this, it looked more, I guess it looked greenish to me, but it was hard to gauge which color to do. And I believe the problem I was having was, I know for a fact that July I had to track down that fabric, and I did buy the called for fabric for that simply because that one has silks in it, and I wasn't about to buy silks and then not have the color of the fabric come out the way I wanted it to. But anyway, what I do is I will just hold this, literally hold the piece out and kind of compare it to the colors on my phone. So that's how I judge it or go by it. I mean, everybody probably has their own little ways of doing things, but that's what I do if I want to match as close as I can to the original called for colors anyway. And in a piece like this, I did have to change some of the called for colors actually. I'd have to go to my notes and kind of refer back and tell you guys what I changed it to if need be, but that's what I do, and it turns out really well. The only complaint that I have about dyeing fabric, if you've never dyed fabric before, is that sometimes when you dye the fabric, not sometimes, always, it will look really cool and you're like, oh, I really like that, and then you hang it, or that's what I do, I hang mine to dry. I don't know what everybody does. I think people sometimes throw them in the dryer, or they'll iron it when it's mostly dry, you know, whatever, but I don't dry mine. I let it air dry because I don't want to change the count of the fabric that it is. But it'll look really cool when it's wet, and then you're like, oh, I really like that. That's perfect. And then it dries, and it's always going to be lighter. Obviously, if you think about when something's wet, it's darker. It's always going to be lighter. So sometimes it's come out where the end result I like even more once it's dry, and then other times I liked it better when it was wet. So you really just don't know exactly what you're going to get unless you know exactly what you're doing with that. And sometimes it's all just an experiment and it's fun anyway. Sometimes you make happy mistakes. There's one I'll have to show you guys that is a piece that I intended to use for Sleeping Mirabilia's Sleeping Princess. And it's absolutely beautiful fabric. I wanted it to be, I wanted it to be pink and yellow, and then it turned out pink and orange, and I think there may be a little bit of yellow in it, but it turned out to be this like swirled looking fabric that was stunning. The only thing that about it was when I originally dyed the fabric. This is when I first was dyeing fabric and I wasn't really considering everything with it. Again, I did it on a bigger piece of fabric because that's what I could buy at the time. So it was a 28 count fabric, not thinking or forgetting the fact that Miras need 32 count. So I dyed this gorgeous piece of fabric that was absolutely perfect for it, but I couldn't use it because it wasn't big enough for the piece itself once it was 28 count. Anyway, so then I re-dyed the fabric for Sleeping Princess, which I will show you guys, to a completely different color, because since that was a happy accident and it just was not expected, I knew it wasn't going to happen again that way, so I just figured I would go in a completely different direction. So that's what I did, and that's the next piece I have to show you guys. And this one is Sleeping Princess by Mira. And the last time I picked this up was in the summer of last year. So the fabric that I had matched with these pinks and oranges. Not exactly, but a lot of it was this type of look for it. Now, the only the thing about it was the fact that obviously you don't want it to be too matchy-matchy with what's going on. Sorry guys, my throat's really dry. You don't want it to be too matchy-matchy with what's going on with it, but because this has an outline around the entire bed with kind of like a gunmetal look to it, like the wrought iron there, it would have been fine because it would have been outlined still, and it's obviously a stitched area. But so looking at that, I kind of felt like, oh, I think I want to change it. So I did. But then since this pattern has like nearly every color in it, it's hard to say, for me anyway. I had a really hard time choosing what kind of background I wanted for this. I want to say that the original, let me see if it says in here real quick. The original called for fabric was Beach Walk, maybe? What does it say? Yes, Beach Walk. 32 count Beach Walk by Wichell Imports. So that's what I originally purchased. Got it. It was really, really stiff. Didn't like it. It just did not do this pattern justice. It just didn't, because I felt like it took away from it. I felt like it needed something a little bit softer looking. I just didn't like this called for. And the called for itself looks nothing. It's not as light as this. It's much darker. I should have brought that out for you guys to see, but I didn't think about that. Anyway, so what I did was I dyed it like a seafoam green color here. So I worked on this anyway. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. But I'll have my husband add in a picture here of where I was last week, and here is where I am now. I worked on this piece last night for a little while. I'm gonna have some loose strands here, so let me get these out of the way. But here's where I am now. So last night I did, this was like a straight line across, so I just added this, and I'm working my way up to the skin. If you guys watched a couple of my other videos, you'll have heard that for me, I have found in order to stay more motivated on Miras, I need to have their faces. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working my way up, and so just that little bit to kind of navigate through, which does make me nervous because I tend to have to frog when I do that, but I'm trying to be really, really, really extra careful. But the skin that I'm at is the dark part of her arm there. So it's coming along. Once I get her face and her arms and her hair on there, I think that will be much more motivating to continue on, and then kind of run with that after that. But I got that tip from Yanni. If you guys watch her, she recommended, or not recommended, but she said that's what she does with her own stitching, and it keeps her motivated to keep working on the piece. And I found that that absolutely for me is true as well. It's just more fun for me to see the face of what you're stitching while you're stitching it than to just do this huge, you know, piece and have it be nothing to really look at and decipher what you're looking at for a while anyway. And this is such a large piece too that I feel like it's really needed for this one, because this entire area here is all solid stitching. There is no break in it at all. I think that's my, personally I think that's my beef with, not beef, but that's my thing with hates. I feel like it's so much intensity, and just for me it's very daunting. So for this particular pattern, I've had to kind of work on it in 10 by 10 blocks because it's a little overwhelming to me. I'm not there yet. I'm not in like the Haid, I'm not in the Haid club where you guys, I mean, more power to you, because to me that's like overwhelming. I don't know. It's a little bit overwhelming to work on a piece that's entirely full coverage. And I do like to see the fabric behind the piece that you're working on too, personally. I mean, I think that's fun too. I do have it's not technically a Haid, but I'll have to show you guys it one of these days. And I do want to pick it back up, but since watching Flosstube videos, this is one of the things that I love about Flosstube, is you're opened up to all these things that you didn't know existed or that you didn't know could help you and make life a lot easier for you. So when I first started, when I got back into cross stitch again, I was watching, or not watching, I joined a lot of groups on Facebook. So I'm in a lot of the Facebook groups, like a lot of other people are as well, and Flosstube videos. But I didn't really see in anybody's Flosstube videos until after the fact. First I saw videos on, you know, the parking method, which I do a little bit, but not fully. I've never done fully anything with parking, and I know it makes life a lot easier, but I'm, you know, like I said, I'm not really there yet. But anyway, so I watched videos on gridding, and I did some gridding on this full coverage piece that I have, which is a peacock, and it's in, it's like, it's stained glass looking. Actually, hold on, let me grab it and I'll show you guys. Hold on. Okay, and we're back. So the piece that I am referring to, I did the gridding on. So here's my gridding, and this is on the worst scroll rod ever. This is before I was really buying things online. This is from Hobby Lobby, and you can see it's very, you really can't use it. So anyway, here's my gridding, and I used the, I want to say it's silky, something like that. Anyway, it's metallic thread. I used red so that I could really see what I was doing. And the back looks like that. So I spent one night, I spent a good couple of hours, I want to say, doing this. And then come to find out later on that I'm one off on this. And if I really looked, I could find it again, but it was just very frustrating. And then it broke over here. So there's a piece that's just hanging there. Anyway, the whole point of this was that I found that there's Easy Guide fabric. And this is just on Aida, because there's no need to like use a really nice piece of fabric that you're not even going to see, right? So it's just on Aida, and it makes it easier for counting as well. But here's the piece that I have. This is from Orenco Originals. It's called a, well, it's got a really long name. It's called A Vivid Peacock's Glory, inspired by the work of art Nueva and stained glass artist. So anyway, this is my piece. Beautiful, beautiful piece. I love it. It's absolutely stunning. Here's the whole thing if you guys want to try to find that. I got this on Amazon. It was like, I want to say 12 bucks, 15 bucks. Let me see if I can get that closer. Yeah, there we go. So that's what that is. I love it. I absolutely love it. My grandpa actually, on my dad's side of the family, did stained glass. It was his hobby. So he would make stained glass windows, stained glass doors, stained glass pieces. He actually has a piece of his stained glass that is at our museum downtown in Grand Rapids that is featured in a museum that's just sitting there that he did. He would do like all the wrought iron himself in his shop, and then he would do the glass. He did everything, start to finish. And that was his hobby. Everything he did was like insane to me that, you know, a person can get so, they can just be so exceptionally talented in so many different areas of life. He was an architect, so he loved building and creating with his hands and doing all these things. Like he had this, at their house, he had this shop that was not connected to their house, but it was a shop that he had separate. He designed his house, their house that they lived in, he designed it himself. And then he had a shop that he had too. So he would work on these stained glass pieces in his shop along with all kinds of other stuff. He did woodworking and just phenomenal stuff. My brother actually, that skipped me, unfortunately. I would love to be able to do woodworking because I find it fascinating. All these old pieces of furniture that are just beautiful, beautiful, where you have all the carving, and then the really little, like the little details for me is what really does it. But anyway, so my grandpa did stained glass. So that's where I kind of have this love of stained glass. I just love this piece. My mom always had like those, you know, the Tiffany lamps that are the stained glass, and they're just beautiful. So I like a lot of old world looking things. Personally, that's, you know, that's me. I like, you know, everything is so modernized these days, and modernized looking things is really not my thing. It's one of the things that my husband and I kind of go back and forth about. I like old looking, you know, Victorian looking things, and he likes a little bit more streamlined looking stuff that's more in the today's age. Like for me, my dream house would be an old Victorian house. Is my ultimate dream house. An old Victorian house with all the, you know, all the original everything. But anyway, I'm kind of going off here on a whole different thing entirely. So this is what I have done on it. Not much at all. And I'm absolutely going to restart this on something else. I'm going to get some easy guide for it, and I'm going to go back to this at some point, but right now it just seems very daunting to me. There's so much confetti in this chart. It is not even funny. And I'm not going to show you guys. I'll just show you a little bit if I can. I mean, you're not going to be able to stitch anything from this, but just to show you, this is what it looks like. It's so confetti heavy, it's not even funny. So that's why I put it down. You know, I was like, yeah, I'm not even gonna do that right now. So didn't want to fight with it, and it was a bit overwhelming. So that's my equivalent of my Hade-ish piece, and it's been put in timeout until further notice. Until I get some easy guide and go back to it. Because I just have so many pieces that I'm working on right now that I'm trying to focus on and get done that I don't really want to throw this into the mix, because this is such a large piece for me that it's a little bit much. Sorry for the crinkling if that bothers you guys. Anyway, so let's go to plans. So what I plan on working on for the week is actually, I'm going to pull out, like I told you guys, I was gonna, if I finish February like I planned on doing, which I did, yay, I was gonna go back to January from the Cricut collection. And I already showed you guys the chart, so I'm not gonna pull it out again. But here's where I am. I got up until a good share of the, oh, not a good share, I guess, some of the A there. So I just have obviously the A to finish in the R and the Y. And the R is not that bad. And when I say not that bad, I mean like it's not that, you know, solid of a piece to do, but the Y is like, yeah, I will show you guys this again. So if you can see that a little bit better, the angel is pretty solid as far as like, you know, front to side. This one was definitely the biggest, well, this one and the U was the biggest letters to do. I left off on the U originally when I was working on it, pulled it back out again. So this is actually, if I don't get this done this year, this will have been worked on for 3 years, which I don't really want. And that's really only because I work on them within the month that it is, because once the month ends, then I want to work on the other ones that are in that month. And if I'm working on these, then, you know, it pushes the whole thing off. But anyway, I don't know why I feel like this pressure to do these. I think it's just because I created it for myself. Just, I want to get them done so that I can look at them when they're on the wall. And if I don't get the larger months done, which obviously are the most time consuming, then I can't put the shorter ones up either, because I have to find a frame that works for the entire thing. And I do feel more comfortable if I wait, just so that I can see exactly where I am as far as what size I want to kind of trim it down to, if that makes sense. I don't want a big like 2 or 3 inches framed. I want to do a little bit, show a little bit of the fabric, but I want to put a different backing piece of fabric on each month. And to get a good gauge on that, I feel like I have to have the piece done. Also, I do have 2 of the months, you guys will see next month once March comes. I have the same, you know, collection I'm obviously still working on. So March is already started, so you guys will see that one. But I actually bought one of the stitching, I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's the little calculator that you use to figure out what your count is on a fabric. I actually bought that for that piece in November because I feel like that they are a little bit bigger when you measure. You know, I've gone back and forth with different pieces that are from the same one, and they are just slightly bigger. Those 2 months are slightly bigger. So that's another reason I feel like I have to finish these before I can frame them, because November is obviously one of the biggest ones besides September, and if that one's not done, and if it's slightly bigger because the X's are slightly larger, it's going to be off to some degree. And I don't understand why, because I bought the fabric from the same exact thing. They're all from the Hobby Lobby, from the ones that you dye yourself, the 30 by 36 pieces. So again, you never know what you're going to get. It doesn't mean just because it says such and such that it actually is once it's all said and done. So just something to kind of keep an eye on, because that's definitely happened to me. And I didn't redo it because I had so much done in November and so much done in March that I was like, just forget it. I don't even want to think about that. And they're only going to be on the wall 1 month at a time too. So it's not like you're going to see the 2 next to each other, even though they're on the same count fabric. Technically, those 2 are slightly, minusculely, that's not a word, a little bit like a minuscule amount larger than the other ones. But you're not going to see it because they're not going to be displayed all at the same time. But anyway, yes. So that's plans. January was plans. And then, what's the other one? One of the Miras. I don't know which Mira. Maybe Adia, because I really want to get back to that. And since she already has a face, she's a lot more motivating to work on for me. And Athena too. I really been wanting to work on Athena as well. So we will see what comes out. I'm not sure. We'll see. And just kind of go from there. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great week, are going to have a great week coming up. Have a great weekend. I hope you get lots of stitching time in, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.